us about the Virginia militia occupation of Harpers Ferry and then the arrival there of Thomas Jackson.
Well, the Virginia militia, of course, is citizen soldiers. It would be like our National Guard today, but with this difference. Many of these militiamen that would start to stream into Harpers Ferry in the early days of the war, right after April the 18th, right as Virginia occupied fully Harpers Ferry, many of these men had practiced as militiamen, drilled as militiamen, but certainly had never been soldiers before, certainly never soldiers in battle. And so hundreds and then thousands, ultimately up to 8,000 men start to descend on Harpers Ferry in the opening weeks of the war. Now remember that the population of Harpers Ferry, Bolivar, and Virginius Island all combined was only about 2,900 citizens. And so the town's population almost triples within a month as a result of all these soldiers massing at Harpers Ferry. Initially, these soldiers were commanded by Virginia militia generals with very gaudy uniforms and very colorful, and they brought with them their big staffs, and they had lots of whiskey. And whiskey became the principal liquid nourishment of the day for many of these soldiers as they came into town, as favors would be asked and favors would be passed. And so it really was a circus. In fact, Henry Kidd Douglas, who lived in Maryland opposite Shepherdstown, decided to cast his lot with the new Confederacy, would cross the Potomac, come to Shepherdstown, join Company B, the Hamtramck Guard of the 2nd Virginia Infantry, and would come to Harpers Ferry, a lawyer who would volunteer as a private, and he would report in the early days of the war that nothing was serious, yet everything was a joke. Well, this would soon end, this joke. A serious face and a serious person would soon arrive, and his name is Jackson. Thomas Jonathan Jackson. Yes, same as Stonewall Jackson, but in April of 1861, he isn't known as Stonewall. He is known as a professor. Jackson, a professor at the Virginia Military Institute, where he taught physics and he taught artillery to the men, the young students there at VMI. Virginia needed someone who had experience to command at Harpers Ferry and to take these militia, these citizen soldiers, and make them real battle-hardened soldiers. Jackson himself was battle-hardened. Jackson himself was a graduate of West Point. Jackson had fought in Mexico and had fought with great bravery in Mexico and was acknowledged for his bravery as an artilleryman while fighting in the Mexican War. Of course, he had come to Lexington, where he had lived for just about 10 years prior to the outbreak of the Civil War. But when Virginia seceded, Jackson, who himself was opposed to secession, just like Robert E. Lee, Jackson would cast his future with his home state, with Virginia, and his very first assignment of the Civil War would be to take command at Harpers Ferry. No one then knew that the famous, soon to become very famous, Stonewall Jackson had arrived.